I am going to show you how Danny O'Bannon made over 200K on a piece of commercial real estate without ever owning it. If you think you can make good money with residential real estate, imagine adding a zero to the end of each deal. And it is not as hard as you think. See how you can do a fraction of the amount of deals and make more money. Let's go. We have a really cool guest for you, Danny O'Bannon. He's wholesaling in multiple markets. And the cool thing that I like that they'll jump into is he's wholesaling commercial real estate. One of the only people that I know that is wholesaling commercial real estate. So what's going on, Danny? Ready to jump into this?
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Doing some good stuff. So you're in multiple markets. You said you're wholesaling in Tacoma, Boise, Spokane, and you're doing some commercial real estate. So I guess tell the listeners, and you have your own podcast, by the way, so you can mention that later if you'd like to. So tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate and where kind of your journey from where you started to where you are now.
Yeah, so I've been in real estate for almost 10 years. I started in 2012. So, and I actually got into it. I was in college and I wanted to get into stock investing. I grew up a single mom of 6 kids, and I had a friend whose dad was pretty wealthy, and I knew he did something with stocks. I had no idea what that even meant at the time, but I understood it at an early age that you could either trade your time for getting paid by the hour, or you could leverage your money, right? My mom was a single mom of 6 kids, so she was working 6-7 days a week, and I saw how much he worked and how much my mom worked, and I'm like, okay, I want that lifestyle, So I had my own lawn mowing business in college, and I would just have my headphones in while mowing, listening to music. So I thought, why don't I try to find some podcasts and figure out how to invest in stocks, figure out if I can learn something while I'm mowing lawns. And in that research, like trying to find stock investing, I found real estate investing on podcasts. And so I would just 8 hours a day listen to all these podcasts, and I joined these Facebook groups, and I was seeing all these checks that people are generating from wholesaling. And so I just kind of made a decision. It was like a few months of doing the research and being in that analysis paralysis mode. And I kind of realized, like, all right, I've learned everything I can learn in this business without doing it. Like, if I'm going to go any further, I need to actually take some steps. So I bought a $500 course at the time, and it taught me to pull absentee owners from list source. It was the only list I knew about. It was the only list I knew how to pull. And it taught me to send them yellow letters. So I just started doing that. Like, I was in my mom's basement, printing off yellow letters, handwriting the envelopes, stuffing them, and sending them out. And it took me about 3 months to get my first deal. It was pretty brutal. You're getting these calls, you don't know how to talk to these sellers, and I'm just making a joke of myself on the phone, right? And I was getting pretty discouraged. And finally, I got a call from a seller, and she's like, well, how are you going to buy my property if you haven't seen it? Like, you need to come see it. Come out here and see it. So I'm like, okay, so I set the appointment, and I did not want to go. Like, the day came, and I just knew that, I didn't know what to say to this person. Like, I was just thinking of every reason why I shouldn't go. And I finally was like, you know what? I'm just going to go. Like, even if I fail, I'll learn something. So one thing I did was I had already started kind of networking. So I reached out to an agent. I just said, hey, will you send me the lowest comps in this area for this house? And so I met the seller at the house. It was a vacant house. We walked the property. We stood in the kitchen. And she's like, well, what can you pay? And I said, well, here are the sales in the area for a property like this. And she said, oh, wow, okay. She's like, well, how about 50 grand? And at the time, like, I didn't think it was a good house. I didn't think it was a good area. I didn't really even think 50 grand would be a good price. But I had found one person in this market that was doing deals. I found him on Craigslist. And I previously took him out to lunch. So I kind of knew him a little bit. So I signed the contract with her. She gave me the key right there. I put $100 on the contract for earnest money, and I had to drive to my brother's house and borrow $100. And then I drove to her house and gave her the $100 because I didn't know you're supposed to do it with the title company. And then I called that buyer, and I met him over there. And thankfully, I didn't say a price first because I was hoping I could make $5 grand. Maybe he'll pay 55. And he ended up saying, I can pay 70 for this property. So we did the deal. I made 20 grand, and that was kind of my entry to the business. That year I ended up doing 9 deals. And my 9th deal I took down as a rehab, which made every mistake you could make doing a rehab. I was on the job doing demo, like doing all the work myself. And I figured, while I'm rehabbing, I'll just do more wholesale deals. Well, I didn't do any wholesale deals because my time was split, right? I was going to school and I was working in my rehab. And so I actually had to go back and get a full-time job once I graduated school. And I did that for about 3 months. I'd work from like 7 to 3:30, and then from 3:30 to 10, I'd work in real estate. And after 3 months of doing that, I had made double what this job was paying me a year in 3 months. So I quit that job, and I've been in real estate ever since. And that was probably since like 2013 or 2014.
I love that.
And that, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I love that story, man, because like a lot of people get analysis paralysis and don't even go on the appointment, right? I mean, you
Right.
almost didn't, right? It's like it's a mental game. It's like you can get as much education as you want to, and a lot of people will spend. I know of people spending $50,000 to $100,000 on education, and they don't use it, right? So just showing up, right? You didn't have to have like the greatest skills. You didn't have like you showed up and you had someone that gave you a price that worked, right? You didn't quite know it at the time that it worked, but you made it happen. And then you took action and found someone that would go look at the property to see if you can wholesale it to them. They made you an offer, and bam, boom, that gives you the confidence to put that deal together and move forward, right? Because without that deal, it probably would have been a lot tougher for you to do the next, like to continue to,
For sure.
in the business, right? You just need that taste, that, that one deal you get under your belt, and you probably look back at it now and you think to yourself, that was the most easy deal that I could have done, knowing what you know now, right?
100%. Yeah. And it's funny that you say just show up, because like that's kind of been my motto, even to this day. Business gets hard, especially when you're trying to scale and either learn a new thing or get into a new market. And that's always my motto, just show up every day. Show up with your team shows up every day, and you drive forward, you constantly push through those barriers. And so, yeah, I mean, we've had quite the journey over 9 years. The company's changed a lot, and I feel like we're always changing. We're always tweaking things and doing new stuff. So
So I want to take a moment to share with you 10X TV. It is the buzz in the real estate investing world right now. And guess what? I was one of the first to do TV commercials over a decade ago. If you want high quality, motivated seller leads that are asking you to do business with you instead of you reaching out to them, go to claimmymarket.com. And we will show you our TV launch formula. We have the shows and stations that we know work. We have the scripts that we know work. We've basically taken the formula that I've created over the last decade plus that I've been doing TV commercials, and we are now plugging it in for over 100 real estate investors around the country. And if you want to be one of those as well, reach out to us. claimmymarket.com. If you want to 10x your marketing, go and apply and see if we have a spot in your market. Now back to the video. Well, you hit a point that not a lot of investors hit. You're doing 100 deals a year, or you did at one point. I can't remember exactly what it is, but let's transition. That's not the most impressive part. Let's talk about the commercial real estate, because I've had three pretty successful commercial real estate guys on the show. You may know some of them: Corey Peterson. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank on the other two. So Corey Peterson, very successful commercial developer, and I've had a couple others as well that I just interviewed. But they take properties down. Like they actually buy them, they'll reposition them, or just cash flow them, syndicate them, bring investors in. But you wholesale commercial property, and I think you said one of them you didn't even really mean to, and you got some pretty big checks from those. So tell us about those. I want to hear about those.
yeah, so I've met a lot of the guys. Probably some of the guys you mentioned that I know, and I see how what you can do in the commercial space, right? Closing on these properties. And so we made the decision last year that we're going to go all in on commercial and add that division to our business. But we're wholesalers at heart, right? Like I've never done a syndication. I've never done a value add and repositioned a property, especially one that's out of state, that's 108 units or anything, right? So once we made that decision, we just started applying the wholesale model that we know that works into the commercial space, right? I mean, it's a completely entirely different business, but in terms of the acquisitions and generating leads and acquiring deals, like we just applied that. And I think that gives us a competitive advantage of a lot of people in the commercial space. But so we started doing our marketing, and we got a deal under contract that was an 86 unit in Nacogdoches, Texas. Never heard of it, never been there,
I just heard of
Uh,
it the other day. I have
yeah.
someone that's getting ready to do TV in that area. So
Okay,
that's funny. That's the first time I ever heard that. And then you mention it. So yeah.
yeah. So we got a crazy good deal. I think we got it for like, gosh, I'm trying to remember the numbers. I want to say we got it for like either 800 and we sold it for 1.1, or we got it for 1.1 and sold it for 1.4. But either way, we got a really good deal on our contract, and we brought it to one of the guys that we know that are closing on deals, and we wanted to be a part of the deal. We wanted to just get. He was going to pay us 100 grand and give us an acquisition like limited partner percentage equity in the deal. But his financing fell through, and we're like already 30 days into this being under contract. And the reason why it fell through, by the way, was because it needed like $1 million in renovation. And we had this thing for like $1 million purchase price, right? So the bank looks at, okay, what is the percentage of the repair budget versus the purchase price? And they want, like, I think they wanted it to be around like 64%. Well, we were well above that, but it was because we got such a good deal, right? Like we got such a low price that it was like 90% of the purchase price was going to be the renovations.
Right.
So his financing fell through, and rather than exploring other options, he just pulled out on us. And so we started scrambling, and we ended up finding a buyer, and we assigned it to that person for a 300K assignment fee. But what was interesting is he actually turned around and reassigned it for 175K assignment fee. So this deal had a 475K assignment spread on it.
That's insane.
And there was a lot of I would say, like, doing TC and single family, there's a lot of problems that come up. Well, doing transaction coordination in commercial, there's like even more problems, right? There's just a bunch more due diligence, a lot of more reports that you have to get, the financials. And the particular seller that we're working with, I mean, to put it lightly, like they were just a little bit crazy. And so we learned a lot in that deal. But yeah, we got it closed, and our first deal, we made 300 grand. And then that was kind of like, okay, we can do this. When we got into commercial, a lot of people told us that you really can't assign apartments or commercial deals. Like, it's not really a thing. Like, people were kind of like saying that. I was surprised, but I figured there was a way to do it. And since then, we've closed another deal that was a 108 unit apartment in Clarksdale, Mississippi, which, again, I've never been there. No one on my team has seen this apartment, but we got it under contract. An acquisition guy that used to work for me actually got under contract for 1.78, and it was way too high, like absolutely too high. So we ended up renegotiating this property all the way down to $1.2 million with the seller. And then we ended up assigning it to a cash buyer for 1.6. So on that one, we made 400 grand. We paid an agent who brought the buyer to us 35 grand. So our net was 365.
Man, that's crazy. That's phenomenal. How did you find those deals? So, obviously residential real estate, there's all kinds of marketing mediums. Commercial real estate's a different animal. You can use some of the same mediums, but how did those deals fall in your lap? How did you get such good deals?
Yeah, it was interesting because another thing that we got into when we got into commercial, they said, you really can't have because we have a call center, right? We built in the Philippines that does cold calling for other investors. We built that for our company, and we were getting, 15 to 20x returns. And so we had people reach out, and just kind of like organically grew into its own company that does it for investors. But it's in the Philippines, right? And the commercial guys are like, I don't see that working, like cold calling these property owners with those type of callers. And so we're like, well, we're just going to test it. And so we have that company does our SMS marketing and their cold call marketing. And so that's what we did. We just plugged in commercial list into SMS marketing channel and the cold call marketing channel. And the first deal was a text message lead, and the second one was a cold call lead. So what I found, honestly, is, a motivated seller is a motivated seller, whether they're selling a house or an apartment. Like, they have problems that need to be solved, and you as an investor is a problem solver, right? So you're there to help them. And if you can't help them, if they don't have a problem to be solved, like, you're not going to do a deal anyways, right? And so we found that so far we've had success with the same marketing channels that we were using in single family.
It's so interesting. I saw your hat and I'm like, that hat looks so familiar. I actually am getting ready to sign up with your company. Call to Scale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Devontae is who I'm working with. I don't even know how I got in touch with him, but
He's an
that's
animal, man.
that's so funny, dude. Yeah, he just sent me a link to sign up, I think yesterday. I haven't had a chance to sign up. But yeah, talk to him and love it because I'm paying per lead. You have a per lead program where you
Yeah,
don't just charge per hour, which I really like. So that's awesome.
yeah.
So the website is call2scale.com, and that's with a number 2. So if you guys want to go there and check it out, it's a pretty cool program. So commercial real estate. So cold calling with commercial. Again, I think about 15 years ago, I've been in the business 20 years. About 15 years ago, I remember someone telling me they heard about a deal where someone made $1 million wholesaling commercial real estate. And at
Yeah.
the time I was like, man, that would be awesome. Maybe I need to look at commercial real estate and wholesaling and all that. Over the last 15 years, I don't even think I've heard of anybody really wholesaling commercial, maybe like a 4-unit building or something like that and making, 20, 30, 40 grand, but wholesaling big commercial buildings. What would be, so that's something you're obviously getting into more. So are you starting to take down more commercial deals? Or are you wanting to still wholesale commercial deals?
Yeah, so we don't want to be in the we will always be wholesaling like deals here and there. Like not everything fits our buy box. Like for example, we got a 48 unit under contract that's not necessarily a value add. Like the person who bought it just did all the work and he's already at the top of the market rents. So we assigned that one for just a 100K assignment fee, right? But we want
Just 100K.
yeah, right. A light 100K assignment, but no. So we want to be closing on these. The biggest hurdle is, we don't have a bank's going to look at me and say, well, you have to have the balance sheet, right, and you have to have liquidity to get approved for a certain type like size loan. And so when you're buying a $5 million asset, like, I think it's like at least 10% liquidity in the bank, and I'm not sure what you have to be worth, like maybe at least 5 million, something along those lines, right? So we need to develop relationships with people who could sponsor loans that have the experience. So a lot of my friends, like I have a buddy who got into it at the same time as us, and he closed on his first deal. And basically what he did was there was a guy who's done commercial deals, who's got a portfolio, so he's got the balance sheet, he's got relationship with banks, so he was able to sponsor the loan, get a third of the deal. And he brought another guy in who brought in some money. He got a third of the deal. My buddy got a third of the deal. So I'm trying to put together some relationships to where I can find, good guys that we want to work with, and that we can do some business with, where we can actually close on some deals, start raising money, and then eventually we'll start a fund, and then we'll close on deals in the fund.
Awesome. Yeah, I've got some really good relationships. Corey Peterson, I mentioned, if you don't have his contact information, I'd love to connect you with him.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd love to maybe participate and help you with your deals. And then I've got another guy that started exactly the way you did in commercial, where he was getting sponsors. He was giving up like 70% of the deal.
Yeah.
Long story short, I was actually, interesting enough, I was loaning him money to keep his business going. And now I think he's got like $400 million in real estate. Like he just blew it up over the last 5 years. So if you want a connection with him, I'm sure he'd love to. Really good guy, would share any kind of information with you, but he's scaled up really quickly. He's raising a lot of money. He's actually going to, I don't know if it's hedge funds, but he's going to these big funds now that he's done a certain amount of deals. And instead of having to raise 100,000 at a time or even 500,000 at a time, he's got these big funds that are giving him millions of dollars at a time to invest in deals. So he doesn't have to raise the money from a lot of different investors. So he'd be a cool guy to talk to.
Yeah.
So
That'd be great. Yeah. Anybody that you can connect me with, that'd be awesome. I might know who you're talking about, but I haven't met Corey yet. So.
Yeah. Well, cool. What else would you like to share? I mean, you've done a lot in the last 8 years, man. Congrats on your success. I've been in the business 20 years now. 8 years, the business has come more and more competitive every single year, especially in the last 10 years. What would you contribute, other than just showing up? What would you contribute to the growth and success of what you're doing? So not only have you done residential, you're not doing commercial, you started your own call center, like you're doing all these great things. What would you say the secret to getting to where you are now that you'd want to share with the listeners?
Yeah. So what I've been really good at is like, I don't pretend to be the sharpest guy in the room. I'm very impatient, so I don't want to recreate the wheel anyways, because if I want to do something, I want to do it as quickly as humanly possible. So just aligning yourself with the right people in the industry. there's somebody that has a business model or is doing something that you want to do, like see if you can get around that person. Maybe they sell education, or maybe you can just bring some value into their business and they'll work with you. Because I was able to really grow quickly when I started getting around people that were either doing education, or I could have created an alliance with them and we can learn from each other. Because it's whatever you want to do, chances are it's being done right now at a pretty high level. And if you can learn that model and just model it, you can get into it a lot quicker than spending a year, 2 years to figure it out. And the other thing I would say is it's focus. Because I've had times where I've been really focused and had a lot of success. And I've had times where I haven't been and I'm chasing multiple rabbits and I haven't had as much success. And that actually goes back to commercial. I mean, last year when we started commercial, we turned off single family altogether just to do commercial. And then we realized, well, when you start on new marketing, it takes 3 to 6 months to really hit anyways, right? And then you get your first deal on a commercial, it takes 90 days to close. So we realized we need the consistent deal flow that single family spits off. So last year was actually really rough because it was like we built this huge business where we're doing 15, 20 deals a month. And then we turned it off to get into commercial. And then we had to turn it back on and build it back up.
Right.
So I'm actually in the building phase of 2 divisions now. I'm building back up single family and I'm building commercial up, right? So staying focused and waiting till something is truly stabilized before you go off into your next, venture would be a huge recommendation, because it's something that, as an entrepreneur, I fail at all the time because I want to do all these things and I get myself in trouble doing that sometimes.
Yeah. 2 key points that I'll reiterate. One is, surround yourself with great people, find a mentor, find a coach, find a mastermind, find somebody or a group of people that will inspire you, help you grow. You can learn from their successes and especially from their failures. And then 2, laser focus. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially in general, but real estate investors can chase shiny objects. That's where I've gotten in trouble in the past, where I didn't have my business fully automated to where I started chasing other things, had to come back and regroup and probably lost a few steps in the process. But I'm fortunate enough now that I've got great people in place to run certain businesses to where now I have those businesses where I don't have to be in them. And now I'm chasing the shiny objects, which are leading to great things and chasing one at a time. So those are some good points. So I mentioned calltoscale.com if you guys want to go there and check it out. Any other websites or any other ways for people to reach you that you want to mention before we wrap it up?
Yeah, you can check out our podcast. It's called Step by Step REI. We started that because selfishly we wanted to talk to high level people and find out, because people get on podcasts and they're like, oh, I'm so great, I do this, I do that, but it's like, how are you doing that? So we really wanted a show that we could dive into somebody's business and give real value of how they're doing it. And so we started that. It's on iTunes, Step by Step REI. Since then, we've had some people reach out that wanted, to do some consulting and teach. And so we have some courses that kind of show exactly how we have our wholesale business set up, which you can see at stepbystepwholesale.com.
That's awesome, man. Congrats on your success, man. I'm glad that we connected, and we've got a lot of synergy and a lot of things that I look forward to working on you with. So get a hold of Danny if you want to scale up your business with cold calling, and he's got some commercial real estate. If you want to invest in some deals, get a hold of him. So thanks, Danny. We'll connect soon, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening. Please make sure you like and subscribe. And if you love this video, you are going to love these too.